Welcome to Beyond the Books. Welcome, Tony. Thank you very much for taking the time. Very kind of you. I know we our host, who's in the black screen behind the scenes here, ran into you at, I think, Scaling New Heights. I'll let you do the service so I don't butcher it of introducing yourself quickly, and then we can jump into the topic at hand. And again, obviously, to the Beyond the Books folks, we'll try and keep this around 35 minutes. Pretty rolling, organic conversation with Tony. But Tony, you want to do a little introduction, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, sure. So Tony Proctor, I am actually the firm principal of Proctor and Associates. Decided to give the firm my name way back in '07. People have said maybe you should reconsider that. Anyway, that's not what we're here for. Our firm, we're a boutique firm. I guess that's the cute word to say nowadays. We serve service providers that have an average revenue between 250K up to about 5 million is kind of the sweet spot. Some of our folks that we don't want to deal with are restaurants. Good luck to them because they're crazy. There's several pieces to it, and there are firms who love them, and we'll just refer it out to them because they love them.
Nice. Okay.
But we're full service. We do tax, accounting, and payroll. We do payroll in-house. People get on me like, dude, you're crazy, but it's what we do.
Okay.
And I guess that's about it. I am also an alum of Intuit's Partner Council, so we got an opportunity to hang out with those guys for a couple years on campus, just kind of talking through some of the QuickBooks and other Intuit products that they have. So that was fun. I did that for 2 years.
What's their big right now? The big move is the Enterprise Suite, right? Like that's what
Yep. People love it, or maybe not so much. But anyway, that's on them to figure that part out.
Yeah. We'll leave it there. So transparently, the name of this episode is Designing a Firm That Works for Your Life. I'm curious, first off, why does that as a topic resonate for you? It feels specific to something that maybe you've tried to do yourself. And maybe you can talk a little bit about what resonates around that specific point. And maybe it would imply that some folks have designed a firm that doesn't work for their lives, or find themselves at a firm that doesn't necessarily work for their life. Maybe you've in this journey have taken that to designing this firm. So what prompted the topic?
I think, when we go into owning our firms or jumping out from wherever it was, and we'll probably get into a little bit more of my story, but I didn't leave like one of the big boys, or I wasn't even in corporate accounting before I came into my firm. But, there's a lot of times where, and I think it happens more on our side as accounting firm owners, but really maybe a little bit across the board. But you leave your job, if you will, where you've been putting 50, 60, 70 hours in per week, and you're like, yo, I'm going to go do my own thing. But then you left a job, and now owning your firm is another job that probably takes as much time, if not more, than when you were working for someone else.
Right.
And so how do we make sure that the firm that we're putting together, that it is the firm that we want to have, so that we have the ability to drive it the way that we want to drive it, and it's not driving us. And I've had my firm since '07. And so there were times when my firm was driving me and I was trying to hold on for dear life.
Yeah.
But then there's been other times when I've been like, yo, this is how we're going to roll. And it's definitely helped when I have control of the wheel versus the firm having control of the wheel.
Right. I'm sure, jumping out from that regular 9 to 5 or 9 to 8 or whatever it was, right? And the first thing you encounter is there's like 2 jobs to this. There's like, I actually have to do the old work that I did because that's how I make my money. And then I also have this other job of growing the firm and running the firm. And now I have my own account that I have to do, and rent and all of the other things, dishwasher, etc. So did you find yourself in that place? And for our audience, are there some critical decisions in terms of how you operate in terms of the types of clients? You said that it sounds like to know that the restaurant industry is crazy is to have worked with the restaurant industry and said no.
Yeah.
So, what are some of those decisions that you've made that you feel like have created this opportunity for you to own the firm versus the firm owning you and your day?
Yeah, I think it definitely when I started, and I started as side hustle.
Yeah.
And then 10 years into side hustle, I left my corporate gig, and then 6 months later, I was doing an acquisition. And
Okay.
so trying to take my legacy firm with the newly acquired firm, put them in one big old mixing bowl was an adventure all its own. But
Yeah.
at the time, when you start this thing, you kind of go into it like, yo, I need to get every single $100 that I can possibly get because I got to keep the lights on. I got da 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 da. And so when you do that, and we've all been there, you start to realize like, wait, some of this stuff that I said yes to, I probably should have said heck no.
Right.
But you have to go through that. And I think there's no magic answer or no secret sauce that you're like, hey, go directly into it doing this, unless you have been under a firm that was doing that. But
Right.
once you identify, like, this is who I'm going after, this is the revenue. So we determine what's the revenue for the clients that we work with. And number one, that they can pay us, because
You're
that's
right.
critical. But also, what is that client persona that works the way that we want to work? Like, we are a little bit of an IT forward firm. And so
Okay.
we're using portals. And so, can you communicate in a portal? Like, that's one of those
Right.
key questions. If that doesn't work for you, then that's not going to work for us, because we're not going to be sitting on the phone for 38 minutes trying to explain how to e-sign a document. Been there, done that. Actually,
Yeah.
anyway, I'm still going through therapy and counseling. But, starting to see those things that you're like, yo, what industries? We had some restaurants and it seemed like a good idea. They were able to pay until they weren't able to pay. And then they have
Yeah.
constant demands and maybe some cash flow issues here and there. And it was just like, yo, this is way too much. And so we're not going to deal with them. So going through that piece, like, kind of lay it out. It's almost like, I don't know how to put this, but if you're dating, I'm married, been married for almost 20 years. So in case my wife sees this, I don't want her to say, you didn't say anything about me. But like, there's a list, tool, written, whatever it is, you have a list of like, what are the things that I'm okay with and what are my non-negotiables.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I had to go through that and start, and not me by myself. My team also would share with me like, yo, don't ever bring that type of client in the door again.
Right.
And so that's how we began to realize that. And I started saying, okay, well, these are the people that we're going to work with, which allows me to not have to be chained to my desk. My team doesn't have to
Yeah.
be chained to their desk, or, we don't want to look at the phone or the email and we see such and such and such. And you're
Right. Right.
like
Yeah.
we don't want to
That could
have that
be,
energy.
and it's got to be helpful for once you identify that like target client, it's got to be easier to grow in that space because you can
100%.
build a small, like, you can fish in a smaller pool versus like casting super wide and then just accepting whatever you guess.
Yes. I think about a time early on where this is before QuickBooks Online. Well, they've always been the big boy in the room, but there were several other programs that were out there for general ledger work. I was like, I mean, it's debits, there's credits, there's a
Yeah. Yeah.
P&L, there's a balance sheet, for crying out loud. Give me the software. I got an IT background. It's all good. But then I was like, wait, I got to remember that this program changed the way that they do this
Right.
program, you can't even do reconciliation. And so now I got to remember all the technical components in addition to doing the work. And so
Right.
that was like right out the gate. We were like, yo, we're QBO only because we know all the things within QBO,
Right.
and it makes it easier. So, I mean, even as simple as identifying your tech stack,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
do you want to work with this program, this program, this program? If you don't want to, then this isn't the place. But you have to know that, and you got to stick to it. You got to stick to it.
Right. That's the harder part is the the sort of the easier part is saying, yeah, this is what I want. Everybody kind of knows what they want. The hard part is the like actually somebody's willing to write a check and pay you, and you've got to be willing to say like, I'm not going to take the short term win for the like long term loss that I know this is going to add from a complexity perspective to me,
Yeah.
everybody that works for me, etc.
It sounds good. Listen, I'm laughing because I've said that. And sometimes I'm just like, but there's potential. I mean,
Right.
it's almost like you're dating. Like, but this can be, and my team is like, Tony, no. And I'm like,
Yeah, right.
but so you have like this internal battle, but you just
Right.
gotta stick to your guns and know that if I bring this thing that doesn't align with where we are, it is going to cause havoc for me. And I'm going to be stuck
Right.
trying to figure out something, trying to troubleshoot. And now I'm stuck. I can't leave the office when I wanted to leave at 5. I'm still sitting on tech support until 8:30 at night. And that's not the life that we want to have as a firm owner.
Yeah. If you're thinking, okay, so for our audience of folks that might find themselves in this scenario, is there advice that you would give to yourself in terms of like go through these steps or go through this process of trying to, that you might have given to yourself 10 years ago or something to be like, here's the start of this journey. And even if you can't take it 100% today, because you need some of this money from the existing clients that might not be ideal, but as you evolve, and you start to shed the bad ones and bring in the good ones. Like, what is there a starting process or something that you could think of to give advice to clients as to how if they just sat down with a piece of paper in front of them, how they might think about structuring the start of that journey?
So if you've had any experience in the industry, for the most part, like you can kind of sense it. I say spidey senses. Like if
Yeah,
your
yeah,
spidey senses are going off, so some people will choose restaurants. Some people love them, some people hate them.
yeah.
And so you have to know like where is it that I stand? Another one that's kind of on the line, nonprofits. Either you are or you aren't. You can kind of walk the middle, but you have to say, okay, if I walk the middle, I want to be very specific about what that looks like. And so
Yeah.
as we write those things down, if I had to tell the Tony 10 years ago, I would
Yeah.
say, what revenue parameters do they have? What industry are they in? And do they pass the vibe check? Because
Yeah.
money is all good, but if they get on your nerves, then is the money really
Right.
worth it?
Right. And it's dollars per hour. It's like also high maintenance is like you gotta do that division of the number of hours you gotta put into it because the money
Yeah.
could look worth it every time you see it come in. If it's
Mm.
costing you 3 times more than the right client, it's not ideal, even though it's coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How did you know for yourself that it was the right time to leave, turn this side hustle into a real thing and then go through this acquisition? I don't think there's probably not like a red light, green light situation. And so you're
There
probably
isn't.
somewhat destined to do this, but like, how did you know for yourself?
So I didn't know. I've shared this story in different venues, but when I was in corporate, I started realizing that I was becoming complacent and it was starting to cause me stress. And I very vividly remember I told my wife one day, I was like, I'm complacent where I am. Deposit shows up on the 15th and the last day. Benefits are there. Like, I can write my tick. I'm like, I have the things that I want. So I'm not going to voluntarily
Right.
leave and go into my own thing. But a few short months after I had that conversation with her, there were some corporate decisions
Okay.
that were made in the interest of protecting the identity of the innocent. But when those decisions were made, I felt like this peace within myself and I felt this release that was like, hey, you
Mm,
probably forgot that you said that you needed a swift kick to get out of there, but this is the
right.
swift kick that you needed to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
out.
yeah.
And so in that moment, I looked at them and I told them that I thought that the decision that they was considering to make was probably not going to be the best one. However, I'm not the final decision maker. I left, went outside, called my wife, and I said, "Hey, remember that conversation about the swift kick? I'm
Let's
out of
hear it.
here.
Yeah.
We're going to move on." So it wasn't like, "Oh, the firm is exactly where I need it to be." It
Right.
was, all right, in 2 weeks, you're out of here. And on Monday morning, you're going to walk into your own shop at
Right.
9 a.m. and you're going to sit down and you're going to be like, now what?
Right, because you could have done the regular thing, right? You could have gone to go just find another corporate job,
Yeah.
but you didn't. So that's a decision in and of itself.
Yeah.
Interesting. So for a lot of our folks, what they're trying to do, and what why Method is like actually hosting these conversations is that a lot of the accounting world is finding themselves looking to build more of a relationship with their clients that is outside of just traditional accounting, more advisory work. I'm curious a couple of things. One, do you think that trend has kind of always been the case, or do you think that trend is increasing these days as technology starts to become more efficient? And then I'm also curious about whether or not, like, what your tactics are for building that rapport, building that relationship that allows you to survive, ups and downs and hold customers for a long time and be part of their conversation, not just around tax season.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are those hints and tricks?
So I think the first piece, I think that this
Yeah.
is a considerably newer trend. And I say newer trend probably like last
Okay.
decade-ish.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think it definitely got accelerated with the whole pandemic situation. But back in the day, people couldn't stand having a conversation with their accountant or their attorney because
Okay.
it
Yeah.
always seemed like the subject matter was above them. And when we would have a conversation, it would be wah, 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 pay my invoice. And so they would be
Right.
afraid of that. But I think now we want to be more of partners and not so much provider. I
Right.
can provide a service to you, but
Right.
am I a partner with you in your business? And I really think that that's where the game changes. And I think that's the value add that's happening today because people they want to feel like they're included and they don't want to feel like they are just somebody out there.
I think made
You
that.
have
Do
understanding.
you see that from there's a desire on that end? Do you think clients are more receptive to it, or how do you build that reception? Like, what are the opening that first time when you're like, okay, I want to. I've only been a provider to this customer. Today we got an hour. I'm gonna try and jump into the advisor world of it. Are there things that you do differently? Does that just come with time?
That's good. One of my favorite answers is it depends.
Yeah, fair.
I think that there's a time element, but I really think that we've been doing it already. We've been having meetings and we've been hearing about Fido the dog. We've been hearing about how there is some domestic challenges that I mean, like we hear these stories, and so we've been the volunteer therapist for years.
Right, right, right.
But we've always been like, okay, that's cool about Fido, but here on your P&L. So we just kind of we put it to the side and we almost sort of dismiss it. But they want to feel heard. And so when we have the conversation about what's happening personally, and it's not just letting you quote unquote vent, but
Right.
is there going to be a potential impact from on the financial side of things? If you said, hey, we got a new pup. Okay, well, if you got a new pup, then, do we need to make sure that you have enough money in your take-home pay? Do we need to start put some strategies in play? But I tell my team this, what I want our clients to feel is that we are the smart cousin.
Okay.
So we can have a
I like that.
conversation. If you've ever gone and you had dinner, like this, that one family member that you're like, hey, you have made it, whatever that might mean. And so I want to have a conversation with you. And so for us, I want our clients to be able to come to us and say, hey, so this is what's going on. And it feels very fluid and not so scripted. And so there is time that has to be put in for that to happen, but you have to be authentic. And I think, earlier I was talking about having a vibe check. Like that's
Yeah, yeah.
critical because if we have a challenge communicating in our discovery call, then doggone it, we're going to have a challenge down the road when it's time to talk about, hey, your business is starting to bleed money do
Right.
we have to make a potentially terminal decision? It's harder to receive that if we have not had conversations about Fido. And I don't want the audience to say, oh, we got to talk about the dog. But like, be authentic. If you are
Right.
quirky, then be quirky. Me, I talk with my hands. If no one can tell, I talk with my hands. And so I get along with people who are like, yeah, I feel you. I
Yeah.
feel you,
Yeah.
Tony. And so now we can have money conversations. Money conversations are hard anyway. It's easy to
Right.
have that money conversation when there's a level of comfort and their guards are down. That was a
Yeah.
very long-winded answer, but I think that's
No, but
really
I
what
think
it comes
it's
to.
but it's an authentic answer, and it speaks to the exactly what you just said, right? You need to build that. You need to be yourself, and you need to build that rapport with the customer, and you need to be open to hearing. I think as a husband to a lawyer, I've seen the switch from somebody who just sort of thought about their billable hours to somebody who is now an advisor, like who actually has realized that the benefit, the business, the relationship is found in all the stuff that's the non-billable stuff or the non-related stuff. That's where the actual entry point is into, and you don't need you. A lot of the time, you're not thinking about it like an entry point. It's just like it's not as crafty as that. It's just you're just having a conversation, but it is that conversation and those little pieces of information that you need to be open to and receptive to, and you need to be patient to hear it, and you need to be listening for them versus just being like, hey, when can we get back to why this number is less than what I expected it to be.
Yeah. And we are
um
the authority in the room. So we can still, I mean, again, not saying, okay, well, that's fine and all, but let's get back to it. At this point, we've been doing it long enough. And for those that are still trying to figure it out, there's this little bit of a gray space where we kind of transition from the shooting the breeze, if you will, into talking about business. But
yeah.
again, I take it back to that vibe check. There are some people who are like, oh, okay, well, I'm glad you got a new pet. So now back to your about like,
Yeah.
but then some people love that energy. But then some people
Right.
love like they just want to feel her. Okay, well, I know. I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk your head off. I'm like, oh no, you're not talking my head off. But yeah, let's go ahead and make sure that we get like
Right.
that transition needs to be there, but it has to be authentic. And so if you are a like cut or dry, then your clients, those are the write that on your list. My clients need to be cut and dry. Like
Right.
they don't want to have any because it's going to drive you crazy and it's going to drive them crazy when
Yeah,
you
if you're
are
not a
outside the door.
conversation person and you find yourself built a firm of people that love to have conversations, you're going to be looking at your watch every 10 seconds.
Absolutely.
What do you think about the acceleration of tech and the world? AI is the buzzword, but I think it's just actually an extension of the evolution of what these tools are able to provide more and more of. But particularly QBO is making a more ambitious push into what it can do for customers that might be traditionally in the realm of that just increases this critical importance of understanding the holistic business. For for accountants that become these advisors, it's important because the tools can actually do a lot more like of the basic stuff themselves. I don't know if I have even a question there as to more of like what are your
What do you
thoughts on
think?
the broad observations of what I just said?
So I think yes, tech is moving quickly, and tech has always been moving quickly.
Yeah.
I think there's just a lot of exposure to it now. But in the past, we have had to spend 2 or 3 hours looking through several reports and then putting some level of thoughts together. And so that 3 hours that we had to spend has now gone down to, I mean, on a high end, maybe 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
For a conversation, let's say it's an hour. Okay, so it was three
Yeah.
hours, now it's an hour. I got 2 more hours to do something. And I'm not saying I got 2 more hours to have a conversation with you, but I can now do more with less.
Yeah.
And we have to embrace it because when we send the reports to our clients or we have these conversations, they're using AI too. And so a
Right.
lot of times they are comparing, well, let me take my stuff and put it in AI and see what it says and compare it to what Tony said.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
We all have conversations every day where we are trying to correct something that somebody read online or heard on the news or social media or whatever the case may be. So that it's here, like AI is here. And I'm appreciative that QB is trying to integrate it. Obviously, people have mixed feelings about QBO. For the record, I drank the Kool-Aid and I poured the Kool-Aid. I mean, there's no secret about that. Check my LinkedIn stuff. But we also have to embrace it. Is it going to be perfect? No, shucks.
Right.
We aren't perfect. And we expect a machine to be perfect, but we have to continue to pour into it. 2 years ago, if you put a P&L into AI and said, hey, give me 3 points, it would have choked.
Right. Yeah.
Today, I'm like, give me 3 points. And it's like, well, I gave you 4 different buckets of 3 points. Would you like me to mix it up and give you a summary? Like, heck yeah. So I'm glad to see it being integrated into some of the larger products because it allows us to do what we need to do more efficiently.
Yeah. And so you view it as a tool and it's not as something scary that the accounting world should be scared of because it's coming for your jobs or something.
It's not coming for our jobs. We still, you can't have a conversation with AI. AI is going to give it to you black and white. And most AI, it is set up to give you an answer first and then make logic out of it. So, even again, if the clients are there, they can only get so much of it. They still are going to have a challenge interpreting
the nuances. The nuance is missing of reality.
We know that last week that you were having a cash flow challenge because we saw your bank account. If I show you my bank statement today, well, yeah, I just had a $38,000 direct deposit that happened last night. So AI is going to say, oh, you have great cash flow, but you couldn't make payroll.
Yeah.
I know that. And so we have to be there to control it.
Agreed. Okay. We're coming on to 30 minutes. So
man, I was just having fun.
I know. Is there anything closing that you want to leave with? Any advice for our audience who's mostly focused on trying to evolve, trying to get out of this, trying to get into this world of being these advisors to their customers versus any words of closing, and then I'll ask where people can find you, and then we'll wrap it up.
I think that I've already kind of touched on it, but be you.
Yeah.
If I was talk about the TP sauce, like 2 + 2 is always going to be 4. I don't care where you are. But the way that I explain 2 + 2 = 4 is going to be completely different from the way that Justin explains 2 + 2 = 4. And so advisory, there obviously is the logical piece of advising our clients, but we have to get through that initial layer because there's some level of fear because number one, my money, and I don't care how rich you are or how not rich you are, people still value money to them. There's an emotional attachment to it. And so, recognize who your clients are and how is it that they like to be communicated to or with, rather.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be part of your secret sauce. Again, we can tell our clients about their financials all day long, but they're not going to have open ears if they think that we're getting ready to give them bad news or they think that we're going to talk above them.
Yeah. Good advice. Okay, Tony, really appreciate you taking the time today. If people want to find you online, where should they go look? I know you got a bunch of places. So is there one in particular, or what should people be doing to find you?
So I guess the professional place is LinkedIn. So I'm on LinkedIn. I am also on Instagram. I do have the business page, which is, business only, Proctor Tax CLT. But then my personal page, I am Tony Proctor. It is my personal page. So I'm liable to be talking about my daughter, who's the monster that I've created. I'm liable to be riding my motorcycle and talking about how I like to stay within 2 or 3 miles of the speed limit. So that's where you can find me. I'm out there.
Okay.
And I'm a speaker as well. So I'm at a lot of the conferences and love to just meet new people in the industry.
Okay. Well, appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of your week and really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Take care.